Hello.
Hello, everyone.
So we have got lots to share with you today. So originally we were going to launch our summer camp Modern Mystery and open up registration on June 1st.
But you're too excited.
We got a lot of, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? So we decided to open up registration now, but still have the installments start on June 1st.
So this will give you time to read over the fabric requirements, think about it, pick some fabrics, but there's no sewing until June 1st.
Right. And but it helps you get comfortable with the technology. Mm-hmm. But the purpose of this video is to explain how it's going to work, especially for those of you who didn't do the last mystery quilt, and help you determine whether this is a good fit for you, for the time you have, for the skills you have, and the interests you have.
And just as a reminder, this is summer camp. This is fun.
Yes.
Easy
breezy.
Easy breezy.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of mystery involved and a lot of fun.
So one of the things I think that's really important to say, if you haven't done either of the two mystery quilts that we've done before, is that this requires an adventurous spirit. So the process of making this quilt will be really different.
And if you think you know what different is because you did the last quilt along with us, this is different from that again.
Exactly. And this is a great project. The people who will enjoy this are the people who love twists and turns. This is not, our version of a mystery quilt is not just, you don't know what you're making and then we just give you the full-on pattern. It's an entirely digital pattern, and it will be, everybody will have a one-of-a-kind quilt in the end.
Yeah, so the sewing is straightforward. There are no technical alarm bells that should be going off in your head right now.
This pattern is something that can be manageable for all levels of sewing. If you know how to operate your sewing machine, and even if this is your first quilt, if you're an adventurous beginner,
you can do it.
You can. The Modern Mystery quilt that we did in the 2023 January one, some people it was their first quilt ever, and that was a more advanced quilt than this will be.
Right, because without templates or curves, this is straightforward sewing. The process is what has a lot of twists and turns in it.
Exactly. So there will be no paper piecing, no required handwork. There will be some size options.
There will be 3 size options, and they're actually posted on the site.
It will be stash friendly for low volume, tone on tones, solids, low contrast, batiks even could work, but large scale prints, high contrast prints, or batiks with a lot of modeling in it are not going to be as easy to use for this quilt.
So in just a bit, we're going to actually walk you through some sample palettes. We're going to show you what we're using and show several other options, although it is so stash friendly that I think by watching this video, you'll have a real sense of how to put together a palette. And then you can use the support of the Facebook, our Modern Quilt Studio Patterns and Fabrics Facebook group to kind of trade ideas and share with other people what you're doing.
So it is important to say that this is a modern quilt, and that if you, it's important to understand that part of modern quilting is making quilts in a different way than was done traditionally. So if you are interested in this, it comes with the expectation that you're going to make things using a little slightly different techniques than you might have used before. However,
not radically different in that it is summer.
Yes. However, many of you told us that in the January New Day Modern Mystery Quilt, you really wanted finished block measurements, so we will have that for you.
Mm-hmm.
So as we said, the pattern is completely digital and in 6 installments. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So when you sign up, when you're seeing this video, the registration is open. So you can get your place in summer camp.
Yep.
And it's a $25 fee that includes everything. It includes 6 installments that you'll download and print at home. There's a supplemental video for each of the installments, just briefly talking about either tips or things that we think could help you be more successful. And it also includes entry into our virtual exhibition. At the end of the whole shebang, you will be able to submit photos of your finished tops or quilted quilts.
In the fall.
In the fall, and we'll host those on our website as a virtual exhibition. So when you pay your $25, you'll immediately get access via a link that pops up on your screen or comes in your email receipt. And when you click on that, it allows you to download a PDF, which is 2 pages. I printed mine double-sided. And this kind of gives you the general directions of where to find everything, how you'll access the installments. It has the fabric requirements. And most importantly, it has a schedule of when each installment is released. So we're suggesting that when you pay, you get this download, which it's different from last time. It's not the pattern in this first download. It's simply a schedule and some details. Print that out, and it will tell you what to do on June 1st, how to get that first installment.
So it's also really important to say that on this piece of paper is where the portal where all of your pattern installments and videos will magically appear. We're calling the lodge. And that to get back to the lodge, there will be an address right on your introduction page. So you'll print that out and you'll have that for the entire duration of the Modern Mystery Quiltalong. Please either bookmark it or print it out so you have that. We will not, I will repeat, not be sending individual emails for every installment. You'll go to the lodge, and again, that address will be on the introduction page. And in the lodge, when each installment is ready on the launch date, they will just magically appear there, and you'll be able to click on it and download it as a simple PDF.
And again, for those of you who took part in the New Day, the really fun New Day Modern Mystery earlier this year, you know that the installments were really involved and lengthy. These are simpler, shorter, but we think they're going to bring a real smile to your face.
They're going to be fun.
Yes.
And we're going to truly have the summer camp spirit in every step of this. We had a lot of laughs on social media when I was asking people what cabin they wanted to be in, and there was the Rips-a-Lot cabin, the Curse-a-Lot cabin, and the where are the drinks cabin. So it was fun.
It'll definitely be a good summer activity. And once again, everyone's quilt is going to be unique. If you were participating last time, of course, everyone's was unique because people use different fabrics and different palettes. This will have some additional twists.
However, because there won't be templates, there won't be concerns about scaling with your printer. So you just need an internet connection and a printer and your fabrics, and you'll be ready to go for that.
It should be very straightforward.
And you'll be able to, the patterns will be on PDF form, so you'll be able to save them and read them on any device. However, it is really important. We cannot offer technical support for your devices. And we had literally hundreds of requests to help with printers, to help with why you can see it on your iPad or your tablet, but you can't see it on your phone, or vice versa. And that is because there's just an infinite number of possible reasons for technical challenges. We cannot offer support.
But this should be quite straightforward. And
if you print everything out,
I think
then it'll be much easier.
The number one thing with digital patterns is when you get it, you're emailed a receipt with a link, and you just, sometimes people say, I don't see it. Look in your spam folder. Look in your junk mail.
Always in your spam folder.
And
always.
That's the key. Always look for that first. So all you'll need is that initial link to download the welcome page, and from then on you'll have access to that hub, the lodge.
But you do need to do that within 30 days because digital pattern links...
Actually, change it to 60.
Oh, you changed it to 60. Okay.
60.
All right.
So
within 60 days, you need to make sure you've downloaded everything.
That initial page.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got so much, and we're looking.
Yes,
we have a list. We're excited.
Pages and pages. Okay, so again, you're gonna when you register, you're going to get the initial introduction page with fabric requirements, but no installments yet. So
that's June 1st.
Exactly. That we're calling that the packing list.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's kind of fun. And then after June 1st, there will be a 2-week gap between the first and second installment, just to let everybody catch up and make sure that if people ordered fabric or whatever, need to go buy fabrics, that they'll have time to do that.
And then subsequently, there's 6 installments. The second through 6th one come out a week apart. So 2 weeks at first between the first and second, and then a week between the subsequent installments.
It's going to be, I think it will be fun, but it will be an easy pace. So if you are traveling, or if you are seeing this and where it's already June 15th or something like that,
no problem.
You'll be able to catch up. So don't worry about that at all. A lot of people who are doing the Quiltalong are on the Modern Quilt Studio Patterns and Fabrics page. And that is a public page, and people will be sharing their progress there. But they will not be sharing their final reveals until September.
Yeah, we're asking you all to keep the final pieces.
We'll talk more about that
later. Yes.
So, but that Modern Quilt Studio Patterns and Fabrics Facebook group is not a required thing for you to join. I know there are a lot of people who don't want to be on Facebook, and that's fine. But many people in the January Quiltalong said it was one of their most favorite parts of the Quiltalong because it was a supportive community, and it was fun to see everybody else's palettes and their finished quilts. And there was a lot of good humor.
A lot of help and humor. And so international.
Yes, absolutely. I think there were how many countries? It was just crazy. But we monitor it to make sure that the tone is fun and supportive. And if you see anything that's other than that, please report it to us, because we really feel that environment is important.
We value that community, and we ask you all also, please do not share the secret webpage to the lodge. Do not share the pattern. We work really hard, and we want you to respect that, what we put into it.
Now, a lot of people have asked last time, and I'm sure will ask now, why aren't you having a private group just for this Quiltalong? And we've given this so much thought.
A lot.
And what we have determined is that our goal is building a community of quilters, and to encourage people to try something new, and to assure them that they can do something that they might think is above their skill level or whatever. And what we found is that there may be people who, like in the January Quiltalong, there were people who had just had shoulder surgery and they couldn't participate, but they really wanted to participate vicariously. And so it was really fun for them to be able to have to follow along and cheer from the sidelines. There might be people who financially can't do it right now, or are have other household responsibilities or whatever. But if we don't share the pattern, then people can watch and decide whether they want to participate. A lot of people joined in the middle of the last one because they saw people having fun.
Yeah.
And that is our goal, is for people to think that they can do it and to try something new, and to just meet people where they are. And if they can't do it right now, but they want to watch to see if maybe next time they might want to do it, we want to facilitate that.
And of course, we'll also be sharing what we do on Instagram, and many of you will as well.
We'll be sharing all of the progress on our quilts. However, there's just a lot of discussion, really helpful discussion, and people getting second opinions about fabric selections and that kind of thing. And unfortunately, Instagram is just not as, it's more about the visual, impact, not as much about building the community. So that's why we do it on Facebook. So we'll also, on the June 1st, it'll be a big day on June 1st. We'll have our normal
Quilt's First live stream
on Facebook at noon Central Daylight Time, and we'll be launching the first installment that morning. So you'll have time to print it out and look at it, and then we'll be able to answer questions at noon for those of you who've already registered and gotten that first installment and want to talk about your fabric selections or whatever. That we'll be able to do that, among other things, at the Quilts First on June 1st.
And we will also, July 1st, during our Quilts First, have a kind of check-in, since that will be midway through.
Yeah. Also, throughout a few times at least, throughout the Quiltalong, we're going to have some evening campfire chats.
They're not on the schedule yet,
so
but we're going to figure out a way to have some kind of evening get-togethers. And we don't know exactly what format that will be yet. We'll announce that as it happens.
So, but again, the idea of this all is to encourage you to feel like you can try something new, and to feel supported, and to build community, so you feel like, even if you're sewing by yourself, that you can check in with other people, and it just makes it a lot more fun. If at the same time you're registering on our website and you order physical items, they will be sent, you'll download your registration and everything, but the physical items will be sent separately later, but you can order them all together at the same time. And again, the cost of this entire thing is $25, which we've intentionally kept low to make it as affordable to as many people as possible.
One thing that's a little different this time is there are going to be 3 size options. There'll be a lap size that's approximately 39 by 50. There's a napping quilt, which is what we'll be making, and that's going to be 50 by 78. And then there's a queen size version, which is roughly 100 by 96. Although you know quilts, you can adapt things.
Yeah.
And so we have on the product page, as well as in that initial download that you get as a welcome, it has the details of the fabric requirements. And we really want this to be stash friendly, so it is done a little differently.
There's no group 1 and group 2 this time.
No, so if you were part of the last one, everyone talked about group 1 and group 2. This time, there's group 1 and then a background fabric. So the idea is you're going to get a group of, we're recommending a minimum of 15 fabrics. As many as you want to throw in there is great. And you're going to develop that palette, and then you're going to pick one contrasting background fabric that will be used for the background of the whole thing. So we'd like to walk you through what we've chosen. We're going to be making the napping quilt. So
And we're going to be using, many of you, I'm tiptoeing into this. We carry the Buttercup Superior solids, and those are our favorite type of solids, and we can answer lots of questions about why they're our favorite, but mostly it's just the weave and the hand of them, and they don't ravel. We're not Kona fans because it's coarser and it ravels, but this is the Superior Solids, which we also have swatch cards for on our website, are the solids that we're going to be using. Again, you can use tone-on-tones, you can use Civil War reproduction prints, you can use whatever you want, as long as it reads from a distance as a solid-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use grunge. Yeah, there's a lot of things like that you can use. This is not the time for big
bold prints.
Tulip pink prints or cave prints or high contrast prints. It'll be a little bit harder to manage this pattern with those. So many of you, when we were talking about this on social media, said you'd like to be able to use your stash, but you'd also like to have a starter bundle. So we came up with a starter bundle that will be available in limited quantities on our website, that we will then also supplement with our own stash.
We're going to use that same starter bundle.
Yeah.
And because we have and that starter bundle alone is enough to for the assorted fabrics in the napping quilt, but we're going to be adding from our stash.
But it's more fun if you've got scraps. And I should say there was a question about, please tell us the smallest size of scraps that would be usable in this pattern, and that's 2 by 2.
About
right?
2-inch squares you could occasionally use. There aren't, in general, let's just say it's really stash friendly.
Yes.
We have developed this beautiful, very summery
I know, it's so
bundle.
pretty.
And this starter pack has 16 fabrics in it. And the idea here is, if you remember, we said there's going to be a group of assorted fabrics, and then there's going to be one solid. We are going to be using it with this marine blue. And, I forgot.
There we go, that's the way to do
this.
Yeah.
So the idea here is that this blue contrasts nicely with all of these. If I set any of these fabrics on top of the blue, you can clearly see what it is. Even though, like, I have another blue, but you can see it's a lighter blue, so it doesn't disappear.
So this might be challenging for those of you who are used to the theme fabric or the focus fabric, where you have one main print and then you do the pulling the colors from the main print. This is a different way of working, and that's also one of the reasons we're going to show you lots of different options for you. But this, again, this is a different way of working, so you're going to learn something new for sure.
So one of the things we've done, if you look at this bundle, you'll see there's nothing super light like a white.
Put it a little bit closer so they can see it.
Okay, there's nothing super light like a white, and there's nothing super dark like an eggplant or a forest green. So we've taken a wide range of hues from yellow to purple to green, but we've limited how light or how dark they go. And then this background field fabric.
Well, I need to take it the other way so it's...
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
This is actually darker than all the others. So we'll always give you good relief, good contrast.
Exactly. And these are fat quarters. So this is fat quarter friendly, or quarter yard cuts are also, will also work well with this pattern.
And the way you'll see when you see the fabric requirements, you'll have this bundle, and then you will need some continuous yardage of your background fabric.
And it doesn't have to be a solid. It can be a tone-on-tone also.
Yeah, all of these could be tone-on-tones. We had time to work with solids.
Yeah.
But you'll see that there is a range of quantities. And this is one thing, you won't know exactly how much you need until you've done it, because everyone's going to be doing some things a little differently. But if you see this bundle, it's a really beautiful bundle. We're doing it with the marine, but you could do it with any fabric that had nice contrast. So if we're actually...
This is the Ecru.
This is Ecru, which is...
a very light khaki. Very, very light.
Yeah, and super summery. I mean, honestly, we're a little torn because we love these both. But let's say you get this starter bundle and you decide you have some linen white, or you get this Ecru and you really want to use it. You might have to make a little change. Like, for instance, right now, there's a very pale gray in here that doesn't have great contrast. So if I were using the Ecru, I might take that out of the starter bundle and use it for something else down the road. But in general, this could work with espresso brown, with all sorts of fabrics.
So several of you also asked for some color options using our palettes of the month from 2022. So we've just pulled a couple that we thought would look nice together. This is our January Campfire bundle and our September Vineyard bundle. And these together are just beautiful together. And what this is chamois, is that right?
I believe this is chamois, yes.
So
Number
if you
38.
wanted kind of a more campfire-y sort of palette, darker palette, these two, the Campfire...
Kind of moody and rich and warm.
Yes, exactly. And the Vineyard bundle. These would look great with chamois.
And if you had one of these bundles, you could just use that as a starter and add lots of things.
Chamois is number 38.
Yes.
Superior Solid is number 38. Okay, so we have another one to show you as well. For those of you who love our beach glass palette,
bundle.
And we've put it with our Buttercup palette. So this is really pretty together. And then one of my favorites is with Cypress. So that's also a really lovely, soft, just gorgeous palette. I love this. It's hard for me not to want to make this one too.
So once again, if you had one of these bundles, you could use that as a starting point. If you had two, you could use that, or you could work entirely from your stash, whatever
I would
works.
not do two of the same bundle though, because that would just give you 10 colors. So
Yeah.
So now what about prints? So let's look at some prints.
I'm going to pull these all aside while she gets the prints out.
Okay.
Let me do this.
So I tried to do a multicolored print version, and let's see if I can hold this up. Whoa, can you hold that other up? Just this end, because that's sliding.
Not the whole thing.
And so this would be a multicolored print with also that has some grays in it as well. Now, just from a color standpoint, a fabric like this would work from a color standpoint, but these prints are not going to work. They're just going to compete too much with the shapes of the units we'll be sewing. So
because it's so multicolored.
And it's just so big. You know, it just kind of needs a bigger piece than we're going to be sewing. And then if you look, can you hold it up just a little bit higher? You can see that we've got this on a kind of navy blue background. And so if you had a darker purple, this is going to be too dark in terms of value. So I would pull, it isn't just hue, you need to look at value too. And this, as much as this is one of our fabrics, I love it, it would be too dark for this palette. Because you need this contrast here between the blocks and the units you're sewing and this background fabric. So other fabrics that would not work, novelty prints don't cut up super well. Again, beautiful fabrics that work from a color perspective but are just too big for this particular pattern. If you have a palette like this, and you're going to have any fabrics with white in it, you're going to need to have multiple versions of that white, or else it's going to be the only thing that it'll stick out too much. So again, let me repeat that because there were some misunderstandings last time about that. We're not saying you can't use fabrics with white. We're saying if you use fabrics with white, don't use a white background and have more than one fabric with white in it.
So it doesn't stand out.
Exactly. High contrast prints are also going to be kind of tricky with this particular.
Part of the reason the high contrast print like that is tricky is if you cut this into a small square, rather than seeing the shape of the square, you'd see the shape of the print.
Exactly.
You might just get like a quarter circle.
It'll
and
compete visually.
It confuses the brain a little bit.
One more.
So we've got all these.
So we're trying to give you lots and lots of options. So this is one that has a lot of Civil War traditional fabrics. And then we've paired it with this kind of pumpkin colored grunge. And this would be a good option. You can see that this palette has a lot of browns of different values in it. But you can see that
spread this out
pumpkin grunge has lots of contrast, both in terms of value and also in terms of hue and saturation.
This is actually the new rouge color, I believe, of grunge.
Now, a color like this, this ochre, is a little too close in value. It's a different hue, but I think it might be a little challenging to use in it. Also, high contrast, even though this has lots of brown in it, the brown and white is so contrasting, it makes it too light in terms of value.
It stands out.
Yeah, it'll jump out too much.
But you could also imagine that if you had a khaki field color could work really well with all of these because it would give you that edge. It's always, in this case, we want to make sure that the blocks that you're making stand out against the field fabric.
Exactly. So I think as long as you have some contrast among the fabrics you'll be piecing, and then that whole group contrasts with your background fabric. So we're not trying to match all of these. I know there were some people who used the black and white photo to try option on your phone to try to make sure all of the values were the same in their palette, and that's not the goal. The goal isn't to make sure they're the same.
The goal is to avoid extremes.
Exactly.
So you don't want to, if you can have almost all darks like this, they're kind of medium to dark. There's nothing light. Or you can have some that are all light, or you can have kind of medium, but you don't want light to dark. That huge range could be very confusing, I think.
And I think that this we've talked about this before, but I think that there are people who teach that every quilt needs a light, medium, and dark. And I think, I guess I just don't agree with that. I think sometimes
every quilt's different.
Sometimes you need contrast, for sure.
This quilt does not want that. It wants contrast, but not extremes.
But you don't necessarily need, white or cream and black or, espresso brown. You can sort of slide. You need a range that you have enough contrast within the palette, but you don't need...
Actually, it looks great from that sliver.
Yeah,
you can really,
does.
really see.
So you need enough that when you piece these pieces together, it's not just going to look like one unit from a distance. But at the same time, you don't want it to be such high contrast that, there's white and black in here and on an orange background or whatever. So,
but the good news is, like when we just did this huge Quiltalong in January, you all picked amazing palettes.
Oh my gosh, there were so many great palettes.
We were jealous of a lot of those palettes.
Yeah.
Just like that is a gorgeous quilt.
I wasn't jealous as much as we admired them.
I get jealous of other color work sometimes because I think it's one of the things I love about quilting is every time I see quilts, there are colors I have not worked with together. Yeah. And it's exciting.
Yeah.
So
we're starting the registration today. Again, June 1st will be the first installment, and the first video will appear in the lodge at that point. And then we'll have a 2-week break until June 16th, and then every week after that. And rather, we used to upload them at midnight, but now we're going to do noon, which is a little bit more civilized, so you can you don't have to stay up so late. Yes, in the summer. So we'll go through the schedule for all of those installments is on your packing list.
Yes, that welcome letter. So I think it's going to be a great summer. We look forward to seeing what you accomplish, share all your ideas, help coach each other along. I think the community in the Facebook group was really inspirational and just delightful.
We'll be using hashtags on Instagram and Facebook. And some of you our last Quiltalong said you didn't really understand hashtags and how to use them. And basically, hashtags are kind of like a little trail of breadcrumbs that gets you back to, it lets you find all of the posts that have been related to one particular topic. And so we'll be using on Instagram and on Facebook the hashtags Summer Camp MMQ, Modern Mystery Quiltalong, Summer Camp, so hashtag Summer Camp MMQ, or Summer Camp Quiltalong for the images that we post. And if you want to, you can arrange on Instagram to follow certain hashtags, or you can search for certain posts if you want to see all the different posts that are out there. And everybody decides to stick to those two. Also, Modern Quilt Studio.
If you're not a hashtag person,
it's not. But it is fun to be able to search using hashtags. So we will be using those and encourage you to as well if you want to use hashtags so others can find your images.
So have a great summer.
It's going to be fun.
We look forward to sharing ours with you.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.